Testing. Chapter 7 Package Material Testing. Alright. Alright, Chapter 7 Packaging Material Testing. Packaging Testing Program Overview. The chapter provides the investigator with the information on how to determine when the packaging design should be selected with the verification capability with the needed performance standard pace and certification markings made by the manufacturer, the process of the procedure for the testing project, the validation testing, the PHMSA program with the verification performance packaging testing capability for the compliance oversight purpose of the validation testing used. There are many of the purposes include routine oversight with include and support investigation, reinspection, retesting, high-end designs, compliance and accidents and support hazard material regulations to gather the data of the new manufacturer, new design types. Investigator have been qualified validation testing authorized lead project for the related with the packaging manufacturer inspection investigator should consult with the chief of the investigator of the National Packaging Safety Program manager prior to initiating the packaging manufacturer inspection activity. Potential validating test project must be allowed to coordinate with the activity and intelligence sharing schedule of the resource. Packaging design selection criteria design testing selected based on several factors in general PHMSA seeks to verify that the performance design representing the high risk of the chemical of the performance certification, high potential consequence in the event of the unintended release and transportation, high frequency with the container with the greater capacity of the shipment method of the transport history of the PHMSA testing. Known incidents may be involved with the design. Other issues addresses with the following guidance should be used with addressed assessed with the design type of the consider with the verification performance testing capabilities. High performance performance certification requirements of degree with the chemical dangers authorized. Example: the steel drum rated. Let's not read the examples, but high frequency transportation, U.S. mobilized, U.S. transportation, conveyance capacity, containers, potential consequences of the event of the failure model of the transportation, all highest potential consequent high rate rail train vessel. Um, Hazard classification material offered of the design presence of the hazard material requirements of high hazard packaging group materials, design related permits and approval of the assessment compliant with the safety equivalence, pass the validation testing outcome of the manufacturing inspection, outcome of the retesting design, the enforcement action for the testing of the failure of the testing design with the plant inspection enforcement action, no prior testing of the inspection history, new manufacturer plan or design, change of the design type of the investigation since the last oversight, compliance incident investigation related with the performance packaging, selective testing, the consideration UN4GV, variations 1, 3, 4, and 5 of the requirements do not meet with the safety equivalence for the concern of the routine oversight, no probable violation noted during the plan inspection assessment of the design performance routine the purpose of the high incident shipment of the design inspection of the high incident shipments with a specifically design report with a carrier repeatedly failing in the transport warranted tests of the design assessed for the performance of their indicated production leak proof testing issue for the qualification testing periodic retesting issues qualification controls concerned with the manufacturing process for the lack of the hazard material regulation all with the documented with the training of the responsible person closed instruction on unrepeatable misrequired elements validation testing alternative validation testing hazard material provided with the two options from the PHMSA with verified as a form of design performance capability of the UN rated down for specification hazard material transportation packaging validation alternative validation testing proof for the compliance with the requirements of section 178.6011 allow the PHMSA to either conduct the performance test of the requirements of the manufacturer to supply with the packaging with the testing of the required in 2009 all validation testing conducted with the PHMSA independent laboratory with the U.S. Military Command Logistics Support Activity Packaging Storage Container Center and the Tobiana Army Depot, the Tobiana, Pennsylvania. In 2009, PHMSA introduced alternative validation testing that allow the manufacturer packaging with the conduct of the testing. Alternative validation testing and alternative validation testing option afford with the manufacturer degree with the control of the process of testing, location testing protocol. The PHMSA of the alternative validation testing to the validated performance packaging capable of observed testing share practice for the provide with the hazard material regulation requirement. The PHMSA seeks to offer the alternative validation testing when available, design related compliant with the investigation design or testing in accordance with the hazard material regulation. Alternative validation testing is generally not offered. Alternative validation offer form and policy procedure document testing contained with the alternative validation testing participation presented with explained with the manufacturer of alternative validation testing other offer form with along with the PHMSA validation testing policy procedure the documentation the alternative validation testing process with the formula with the term of the condition followed by the letter of the PHMSA can validate the result of the alternative validation testing offer the form of the performance packaging validation testing program guides are available for the NPSP Manager Investigation Regional Packaging Team in SharePoint, and that gives them a link. The alternative validation testing expense for the alternative validation testing, including the testing specimen, ship of the specimen necessary responsible for the manufacturer. The manufacturer may have the the alternative validation testing result of the requalify the design project with the conduct within accordance with the offers for the terms of the policy proceed with the program that has material requirements for the conducted as officials. Compliance determination before alternative validation testing offered for the probably possible the alternative validation testing offered for the inspection manufacturing testing location should conduct with the PHMSA. The recent experience with the determined compliant with the investigator must determine the compliant with the manufacturer testing location for the design is attested with the different location for the plant inspection alternative validation testing offered with the possible knowledge for the testing practices for the protocol for the test is necessary. If the test for the PHMSA third party laboratory no inspection laboratory is necessary, probable violation noted during the testing should be documented with the quality control issue with the existing briefing of the third party laboratory. The PHMSA does not allow the use of alternative validating testing and identifying probable violation enforcement action. In order to determine the testing program with the compliant with the part of the oversight of the process of the overall of all manufacturing testing facility inspection with the assessment must be made with the assessment made throughout the demonstration with the testing of the UN rated design based on the test of the report assembly with the closure with the qualification testing demonstration testing and improvement and complying with the oversight deal with the investigation should recover the demonstration of the testing during an inspection qualification is conducted. The following demonstration testing process should be a simulation of the qualification testing required with the following review of the test report and testing protocol, the discussion with the testing personnel with the actual procedure, the review of the discussion of the testing equipment, technical capabilities, actual procedure used, an assessment of the hazard material regulation, knowledge, understanding the testing personnel with the observation, packaging, preparation, conditioning, testing, and pass and fail determination, and the use of the actual UN packaging. A test specimen with the fail during the demonstration of the testing with the process should not be used with the evidence of probable violation for the design with the incapable of passing the prescribed test of the performance design during the demonstration of the test should be used the factor of the PHMSA decision regarding whether to verify the performance of the packaging capability through alternative validation testing or validation testing with the testing provided the efficiency noted during the demonstrated testing must be great with the alternative validation testing to be offered. The alternative validation testing option to assess the design performance capabilities is not testing compliance. Alternative validation testing offer and process procedure for the best scenario. Alternative validation testing offer the design during the plant inspection with the design with the procedure for the qualification periodic retesting on the site with the design should be tested with some of the same facility, whether it be the last subject with the certification testing other. However, there are the scenarios of the possible maybe the case determination and coordination with the NPSP manager. The investigator complies with the separate alternative validation testing offered form with each of the party involved with the project with the outer side tester as either both parties must agree with the participate in the program with the packaging manufacturer first present with the offer of the manufacturer except for the alternative validation testing offer. Investigators should present with a separate offer for the test for the consideration. Alternative validation testing offer should be accepted led the client as soon as possible to declare when offer the test requirements for the complete with the investigator onset with the alternative validation testing project with the declaring of the project terminated. Has material regulation requirements for the terms of the other offer of the policies are not met. Second, serve the test specimens will be purchased for the validation testing at the PHMSA's independent tester. The potential alternative validation testing offers with the coordinate with the NPSS manager advance. Alternative validation testing process observation test report. PHMSA will observe all aspects of the alternative validation project testing project completion with the investigator responsible to ensure the condition that the hazard material regulations are met with the tester should meet with the instructions that handle the alternative validation testing project with the same way with the previously tested with the certified the design. The tester should not verify the same procedure. The tester should be instructed to explain to the investigator every step of the process prior to the start of the action with the relevant with the preparation current with the condition of the testing. Investigator must be formally informed procedure and acts in advance of each of the phase of the project. The investigator should observe each of every step of the process with include with the weight of the measurement and determination will include with the additional preparation of the testing fixtures, the accessory of the testing with the passing fail determination. All test samples should be filled with a closed base on depth of the gathered with the test well with the investigation observed. Prior to test report, indications should be checked with the actual weight for the measurement with the carrier weights, overflow capacity with the stack loads, accessory gauge measurements and temperature readings, addition time with the drop height with the variation cycle per minute with the stack with the test load. Other indications must be observed verified by the investigator documented in the notes. If the investigator determined the action to be taken with the test during any step of the process of the evaluation has material regulation with the conflict with the test or documentation procedure protocol with the investigator disagree with the test reading with the calculation, etc. shall be issued with the discover the result of the on spot and if possible all has material regulation requirement the test series should be conducted with the alternative validation testing. As test report that describe the design and testing outcome of each of the test series is due with the PHMSA with the 10 days prior days after the test is complete with the test report with the hazard material regulation requirement self-certifier with the independent tester with the PHMSA with the TPL for the TPL with the report with the competency with the authority with the approval the requirement of the test report shall have the sent with the NPSB manager will forward with the PHMSA office engineer. Alright, your validation testing. PHMSA primary for the validation testing is of the performance packaging of the design have been properly manufactured to have the certified mark on the corner for the hazard material regulation. Validation testing issue with the design with the required related complaint with the accident incident investigation. All explained with the related validation testing include with the cost of the test with the specimen packaging with the transport shipping with the being funded with the PHMSA. Log server rules testing standard with the rules procedure for the independent with the PHMSA log server that has no interest for the testing outcome with the promote with the consistency testing reliability result log site in the ASTMS testing of the ASME D4919 log sub policy procedure validation testing available at the PHMSA website and SharePoint following link. The PHMSA with the logs over the review with the testing procedure with the protocol with the most review for the periodic retest with the periodic with the recondition drum with the bleeder assemble with the corner closed and a corner for the instruction provided by the end for the performance certification mark and apply with the meet the sample test sample to the standard U for the test report performance certification with determination has material requirements of the pass and fail the determination and keep it the industrial protocol for the PHMSA logs start with the liquid rate of the signal packaging of the project with the drop of the hydrostatic with the blue proof test series. For combination packaging intended or liquid with the drop test for the internal pressure for the air certified by the design with the conductor versus non-bulk with the intermediate bulk container design failed to meet more of the test for the series. The PHMSA reserved the right to end with the test project report on the result. This also with the industrial protocol that identified with the underperformance design with the analysis logs with the validation testing over the NPSME. A manager for the PHMSA would have all the design tests associated with the test report video released within 8 weeks after the test sample arrival of the test engineering state assignment. Industry observation validation testing. PHMSA will allow packaging manufacturers to observe the partial drop leak with the proof of hydrostatic pressure test. For example, the log on the case-to-case basis for the factory, including with the log required reason for the PHMSA test of the PHMSA manufacturer safety staff availability for the travel condition. Release test report, video and failed samples for the analysis. The PHMSA also provided the packaging manufacturer the logs for the test report video along with a briefing package for the investigator record with the official outcome of the failure to determine that the manufacturer will be given the opportunity to examine the sample of the logs. Alternatively, the PHMSA may authorize return the failed test sample to the back packaging manufacturer of the failure and analysis of the logs maintains all failed test samples until the disposal of is authorized by the PHMSA. If the PHMSA takes an enforcement action related to the project failure of the container, will be maintained until the action concluded with the validation testing project selection form in use. After the investigator select for the design validation testing, the next step for the investigator to complete the validation project selection form of the validation form. But each of the designs tested, the validation form is found on SharePoint in the following link. The completed validation testing should be provided by the seller packaging with the NPS manager. The investigation should consult with the NPS manager with the information should be identified each of the project dimensions and start with the process of the purchasing, transportation, sales quote, generate with the packaging vendor with the purchase transportation arrangements, vendors with the validation testing support with the identify the design type of the component of the purchase and then prepare with the mandatory sole quote over the submission directly with logs point with the contact information for the purchase of the identified validation testing form. Basic information about the design type of the component with the assembly with the closure testing required logs of knowledge whether it should be identified by all packaging validation testing will be purchased with the logs all you with the PHMSA fund with the preparation packaging with the transportation pallet with the stretch wrap wrap preparation with the load with the transportation will also be with the logs any of the packaging manufacturer provide with the packaging with the no cost of the PHMSA shall decline unless of the proof of the MPSS manager will PHMSA pay the market rate with the GSA schedule for the packaging accounts. The components of the sale quote should be identified with the following sell to shipment information U.S. Material Command AMXL AAT Ryan Roberts Warehouse 2 Bay 5 11 Hamp Arnold Boulevard Tobiana PA 18465096570615 9057. After logs are received at the sale of the quote over the vendor with the verify with the authorization purchase with the NPS manager with the log will contact with the vendor to make the shipping and the arrangement in most cases the log will also be established with the contract with the carrier thereafter the vendor does not have the obtained shipping ready with the sales quote unless for the request with the log Alright, purchasing totaling $3,000 or less can be paid with a Visa credit card, but the advance be accepted. The purchase of the exceeding 3,000 must be paid, but the check of vendors must be made available to take no action alongside contacts of the execute with the purchase. Alright. Submission of the records complete with the process. After securing the test of samples of evidence of the collection investigator provided the NPSS manager complete with the validation form with the current test report, assembled with the closing instruction for the photograph of the observation report, sales go over the NPS manager, review the documentation completion, seek additional input for the investigator, manufacturer, tester, vendors needed of the NPS manager will oversee the purchase with the transportation project plan with the test on the behalf of the investigator. Secondly, the inspection report number, the alternative valid testing and validating testing. Each of the related with the alternative valid testing and valid testing is used with the unique report number. The inspection reports required by the CMS of the necessary to differentiate related activities. For example, the investigator conducted the inspection package and manufacturer selected the divine of the alternative validation testing. Separate report numbers will be assigned with each of the activity. The third report number that will be assigned with the second set of the sample to secure with the validation testing. Alternative validation testing project is not complete with the fourth report number that will be assigned with the alternative validation testing project, with to be conducted with the outside of the test facility with the PHMSA not recent compliant with the history because of the inspection for the tester is warranted to determine that it has material regulation compliant with the alternative validation testing project. Other example, the report number that's assigned with the inspection selection of the design with the packaging distributor inspection of distributors is assigned with the report the number of the design with the testing dual rated testing both performance and certification less than level of warranty with the container of the screw that they want for each certification. Two separate report with the numbers assigned with the design alternative validation testing or validation testing PHMSA for the corrective action testing to assess the performance improvement of the claim with the after and then the report number that's signed. All inspection report number that's signed by the investigator should be identified with explain with the report of the process of the oversight of the procedure of the exam of the plant inspection report should include and the reference to alternative validation testing, corrective action testing, patching sort of the alternative validation testing, inspections made with the temp of the specimen, alternative validating testing of the available to the source of the packaging distributor before serve the directive of the packaging manufacturer's part of the plan inspection. However, the inspection of the manufacturer plan, but it may not always be possibly acceptable by the investigator to purchase samples of the distributor assessment compliant with the design type can be made with a review of the test report, the closure statement, and the review of the specimens. Regardless of the source of the packaging, investigators should attempt to select the set from the single production with when possible to make the determination that may not be properly and use the packaging distributor the test specimen and have it in the same specification include with the closure with the gas capacities of the accessories, other components part of the model of the plastic container manufacturer will have the multiple modes of the body within the lids of the investigation to select the bodies in single mode rather than units of proceed with a different model of the same apply with the lids open-headed containers. During a plant inspection, the design ensures that inventory of the investigator may recover the container with the produce for the sole purpose of the validation, alternative validation testing of the however acceptable and container with the testing of the manufacturer will obtain willingly to produce extra container with the power of the schedule anticipated future production run, but the investigator should return the agreement to confirmation of specific components. Sample lot size of the experiment of the alternative validations and validation testing. For each validation and alternative validation testing, the following number of samples should be obtained with the testing of the subject. Each product single package 24 units, combination packaging 20 units, inner bulk container large packaging 5 units. When alternative valid testing offered, two set of the container with the secured one set of the alternative validation testing project. The second set for the validation testing in the case of the alternative validation testing terminated by either party offers the term not meet the policy procedures not followed with the PHMSA design close the door for the testing outcomes. The last side listed above did not correlate with the minimum loss side of the qualification period, like retesting for the examples for the secure with the accounting with the damage and transportation weight with the management calculation and other factors. For design with the investigator seeking the rating with the verify with the X, Y, and rating of liquid and solids, one side with the test sample, the performance rating record required with the set of the containers assessed, and the separate report number of the dual rated containers selected with the PHMSA generally with the seek the test of the higher performance certification only to design related liquids and solids verification performance of liquid rating in the higher priority. The second set of the container validation testing relates to the inventory alternative validation testing endorsed for the no evidence of the tape apply with the second set of the samples. Containers should be isolated with the screw to help with the stretch wrap with the inspection report with the number assigned with the second set of the containers is marked on the evidence tape with the apply with the outside with the stretch wrap. Scrimming the sample of the evidence tape, the application, alternative validation, testing, issuance of the PHMSA order, the packaging with the direct for the manufacturer, the distributor without the person observation, scrimming of the packaging are selected by the investigator and the person vendor should prepare with the container with the transportation with the investigator input with the direct observation. Using pallet straight wrap with the transportation purposely over our size pallet should be used whenever possible. The container as the packaging for the purposes of the container should be loaded on limited overhang with the pallet with stretch wrap that should be curvily firmly over all four pallet corners to prevent the container from shifting the edge of the pallet with the transportation drum should be double stacked when possible to reduce the transportation cost. If the vendor does not offer the pallet the wrap, the drum that may be shipped loose. Composite rigid and plastic intermediate bulk containers do not need to be palletized to wrap to the transportation before integral pallets. Evidence and tape. All packaging obtained with the person that will be marked with evidence tape with a lot of containers may be stretched with wrap with the evidence tape with the ability for the outside with the wrap of the transportation. Investigators report number must be marked with the evidence of the tape applied with each of the container with the stretch wrap play out with the intermediate bulk container. Individual testing sample of the marked with the evidence tape that should have the report number of the sample side with the sample number to indicate with the evidence of the tape applied with the individual touch sample that should be affixed for the UN certification strong when possible when more than one pallet with the non-bulk containers issue the intermediate bulk container with the FH for the pallet with the marked with the total number of the pallet with the intermediate bulk association with the report number for the alternative validation project. Each side of the container should be marked with the indicator of the testing location, alternative validation, testing evidence for the test of the valve with the install with the closure with the valve with the locking with the ring with the prevent tampering prior to the testing with the packaging with the closure with it or not installed with the touch the lids of the open head of the pallet screw caps of the inner packaging box tape. And the components should be boxed in place on the pallet. One possible with the box part, but it should be marked with the evidence of the tape that indicate the components enclosed. Packaging, shipment, unassembled, the broken down with the wooden pallets, intermediate bulk container, each fiberboard combination packaging with the sole broke down with the broke down boxes with the overpacked component that should be stacked on the pallet, stretch wrapped. And flexible fiberboard intermediate bulk container with a non-assembled shipping and not be palletized wrapped with a wood pallet with a fiberboard intermediate bulk containers obtained with the the source of these designed solely the individual end user of the source of the pallet locally. The pallet should be usually the same design with the test certified with the alternative validation. Testing pallets should be stacked together. Flat intermediate bulk containers should be loaded with the top of the pallet with the nails and lanyard bags to twist tied with the other component with not stored. Broken down intermediate bulk containers should be overpacked with a box placed on top of the intermediate bulk container block for the component that should be marked with the project number for the other relevant data, entire lots of the pallets, the intermediate bulk container for the other stretch wrap shipping, and evidence of the collection, alternative validation, testing photograph that you show the take with a photograph of the entire lot of the packaging select with the testing. If the evidence taken applied with each of the test specimen of the photograph shall have the evidence of the markings, multiple designs selected for the photographs. Each of the samples should be captured for the other representative of the sample. Each of the design photograph of the be captured of all those representative of the package, including the package with the individual component, but the other specification detailed evidence of the tape. Photograph of the palletized wrap container should also be taken. An observation report with the investigator should prepare the observation report with each of the design. Each observation should include the investigator's name, the report number, the date of the observation, location, the manufacturer, certification, total number of the units available, the packaging, the dimension of each of the component, with the complete with the package, tear weights of the packaging, and with the practical with the type of the alternative validation testing. Test report, assembly closure statement. The investigator should obtain the design qualification testing report, more recent periodic retest, the assembly enclosure instructions for the design, with the tested for the certified with the permanent competent approval of authority approval to the manufacturer testing and certification. Reconditioning steel drum closures and other condition because of the reconditioning does not require periodic retesting of the reconditioner. The only recorded necessary the alternative validation testing assemble the closure instruction provided by the end user. All reconditioned drums will be prepared for the testing based on the assembly closure instruction provided by the reconditioner. Or the investigator must issue with the has material regularly combined with the reconditioned drum, either the same with the new or remanufactured drum with the reconditioned drum with the test sample, the examine the drum with the performance marking when they apply with the reconditioner side with each for the package with the gradient or regional performance marking involved with the embossed with the bottom with the container by a manufacturer and left with the design with tested and certified with the reconditioner remanufacturer with the scenario of the entire lot with the sample that should be same height with the number of the rolling loops, the closure gap, the locking ring bolt and nut with the gasket open head with the drum with the reconditioned drum with the not meet with the thickness of the requirements for the reuse of the hazardous material transportation system. Packaging C, Title 49 CFR, Section 173.28B41 will not be authorized for the alternative validation testing except for the support of the scenarios detailed in this chapter. Remanufacture steel drum with investigators select for the design with the testing with the steel drum, recondition for the drums and both of the sidewall of the drum during the operation of the design have the manufacturer of the remanufactured day with the either means with the installing new top of the bottom of the heads on the open-headed light-headed drum with the converting of the open head of the drum to the high tight head or vice versa. Some of the operation convert with the non-specification design of the UN. Special steel drum design cannot be reconditioned manufactured in the same process for the remanufactured drum that is new comply with the production line reconditioned drum that previously was returned for the inspection and testing of the same of the specification before the process of the airport of the marking of the steel drum has been remanufactured. Same process of recondition violation is a violation has material regulation requirements. If the scenario investigator would select for the design with the testing of the new remanufacturer, the requirement of the verifications of the design must be followed with a review of the manufacturer's and remanufacturer's testing program with the conduct within half of the required for the review of the test report necessary against the specification sample to be produced. Special attention election individuals as part of the alternative validation testing necessary for the ensure the consistency of the design height with the rolling hoop and the number, the location thickness of the head of the body with the gauge for the locking and the ring of the bolt and for open head of the design bowling type gasket original design type of the certification tight head versus open head with a very important assessment with the design testing of the performance cannot be made with the specimens long but not identical to very similar. Alright, your corrective action testing of the alternative validation testing in the event of the alternative validation design failure of the PHMSC circuits, corrective action taken with the manufacturer, improve the testing performance, promote the packaging safe for the manufacturer must be designed with the testing manufacturer with a significant change for the are purported to improve the performance of the packaging. PHMSA may offer the opportunity to have the new improve the design retest of the substantial claim with the alternative validation testing collected with the corrective action testing. PHMSA goal of the corrective action testing and the validation performance same policy to proceed with the alternative validation testing of the corrective action testing and the corrective action testing is noted with the investigator inspected report of the alternative validation testing project with the end package with the failure with contaminant by the corrective action testing of the not used with enforcement purposes prior to the corrective action testing of the authors to do with the manufacturer of the design with consideration new and different qualification testing means for the conduct for the certification test required with the pre-HMSA review with assessment. Case management system entries for the alternative validation testing. 5 business days before the alternative validation testing project initiation, the investigator must create a case management system within time with the documentation project all related with the activity plant inspection, distribution, inspection, the end user inspections, alternative validation testing conducting outside testing facility, manufacturer operative facility other than at the plant where the design manufacturer must have each for the separate with the case management systems to differentiate the activity all rated case management systems entries must be cross references. Case management entry for the must identify the manufacturer, remanufacturer, recondition for the new the multiple application for the performance mark for the company over the record, the primary inspection code for the case management system of the selection of the packaging of the testing, the number 41 secondary inspection code for the corresponding with the type of the packaging case management system. Entries must also provide the available information about the design of the statement regarding any related inspection corresponding report number of the summary they provide with the UN certification manufacturer name and location, plant where applicable, capacity enclosure, specification, test report, photograph, the observation report, purchase, the correspondence, and etc. Right here has material regulation citation design with the alternative validation testing. Our investigators should use the following basic summary format of documentation existing brief with inspection report design with the alternative validation testing process. Representative of the market certified sold with the officer with the insert with the seal of the drum with combination package with the composite packaging, intermediate bulk containers, etc. as appropriate market with the insert with the full performance market with the and then when the container were not capable of the passing with the insert each of the tab of the design failed the drop stop late profinance test as prescribed in 178 sections 178 include each of the testing as appropriate with the Title 49 section 178 and C and G with 182 and B 170.01 B insert non-bulk and the intermediate bulk containers as appropriate. Hazard material testing. Investigators should never the purchase of the name of the sample of the suspect that has material without prior approval of the regional chief of the investigator, regional director. Investigator can purchase the obtained sample with the material with the two methods directly from the vendor origin with the office that has material safety OHMS FAO Identify the tagging of the sample, the having with the vendor, shipping the sample of the laboratory, facilitating indirectly with the vendor, arranging with the company of the same business, and order sample over the field's behalf. The safety investigators should exercise the reasonable care for the discretion in selecting material for the testing. Selecting materials testing consider the following of the potential risk during the transportation, stored into the transportation nature of the quantity of the material involved. With no RAM that will be purchased for the testing. Previous experience with the hazardous material regulated with any ability to safely transport the product of the question. Laboratory conduct cost testing. Investigators should never open the package or remove the product with the count on compass sample. The investigators should keep in mind the purpose of the must never be deliberately exposed to yourself with the raw chemicals of any kind. To ensure your safety of the field with the investigator, integrity of the evidence collected during an investigation, investigators should take the sample of the material with his or her personnel for the possession until the written instruction and approval of the regional chief and the investigator or regional director. Prior to accepting the hazard material for the testing, investigators should thoroughly review the safety data sheet if they are available. The safety data sheet with the concern of the material that should not transport the specimen if there is any doubt whether the safety transportation procedure that obtaining the sample of the regulated must be and if to provide a sample of one or more hazard material if they're in the office of the transportation investigator may request the sample which believe that may not be compliant with the may request the solely with the check with the identified classification sample that must be obtained with the manufacturer facility purchased with a customer location. Investigators shall never draw with an extract raw sample of themselves. All investigators are required with the wear agency personal protective equipment with obtainment of the sample of material hazard material safety training with is required. The sample should be provided with a small size of the package required for the testing of the packaging should identify the marks with all the parties present with the verification sample integrity ensure the closure of the sealing process where applicable UN specification packaging preferred with the purchase material with the other any with the non-feasible way to obtain with the material such for the potential invalidation for the commercial transportation has material the investigator must inform the regional chief and the investigator with the regional director all of the parties with the discuss the logistics plan with the purchase for the ensure the transported risk of acceptable that all safety precautions are taken in this instance with involved with the commercial transportation where the subject with any of the alleged with the suspect with the violation applicable the rule with the regulation critical the criminal statute with involved with the has material regulation regional chief investigator regional directors will be evaluate the nature of the suspected defense for the investigator steps and anticipate with the associated risk prior with the indirected purchase. Quantity and purchasing sample of the testing investigators should be obtained with a minimum amount of the necessary to conduct the validation testing that should make with the obtaining the materials with the package with the ordinary ship. The investigator must purchase with the material within question with the shipper, the distributor with a gallon quart with a payment with the quantity for the package is sold with the shipper. One product with the for the testing investigator should record the smallest possible with the sample of the incision facility. Accurate testing usually 100 grams with the solid with 100 millimeters liquid is sufficient. Alright, prior to packing over the supply with the original packet, preferred with the quantity with a reasonable 1 gallon, 1 pound, but the maximum quantity of the sold should be obtained with more testing and evidence collected with the sampling shall be sent with a closed test of the regional chief investigator, regional director of the lab pickup with the testing and the sample of the one classification testing has been completed. Lab test costs will be normally paid with the regional government purchase card since most of the costs were below $3,500. More than $3,500 purchase order must be process. Market research is needed to perform the best price for the government to make it takes several weeks to process. Disposal charges usually include with the testing contract of the collecting large quantities of the access to the material encourage discharge reimbursement. A company may provide the material with no cost for the government reimbursement. Require that the contact of the regional chief and investigator, regional director, purchase with the regional government purchase card. Investigators shall document all transactions obtained clearly verifiable to receive the prior condition and purchase order can arrange for the purchase never to be with the government tradable credit card with the chain of custody one sample over the purchase that must be made with the evidence investigators should secure with the seal with the closure of the OHMS issue with the same with the evidence say with the shall identify with each of the product unique identifier include with the investigator badge number date sample the collect with the sequence number of the sample the collect with the date with the example of the unique identifier 24300 or with a second sample to collect with the investigator badge number and then the date. Investigators should secure the material with the agreed location of the company with the prayer with the training with the custody appendix B with the should make with the sure with the shield with the material with the extreme with the temperature light with the coordinated delivery with the lab. As soon as possible, the investigator must take the photograph of the material prior to the departing the inspection site with the SDS. Sample the bill of landing shall provide with a copy of the safety data sheet. The two with the testing lab with the reference for the safe handling material. The investigator must leave with the original chain of custody with the document with the material with the key with the copy with the record. C. The appendix B with the chain with the custody form. Investigation should for the completeness of the following tasks with obtaining the samples, checking the code for the evidence for the tape of the photograph of the packaging closure, safety dash sheets, delivery of the regional testing facility, instruction testing of the perform the material, animal testing policy for the corrosive material, with arranging for the testing material for the corrosivity using animals is not required. Investigation inform of the prospective laboratory testing should be utilized in virtue of the testing protocol. Investigators should be divided with the laboratory testing of the using animals for the testing absolutely necessary. Only when absolutely necessary. Chapter 8. Planning, conducting, completing accident investigations. Testing.